All right, guys, this is the third video in this series. So after looking at that second video, the one I just made here, what I found is that I really was like, there's too much contrast going on here. And I think ultimately we need to have something that's got less contrast and it's more subtle and it pings those whites a little bit more. So this is where, you know, there's many ways of doing something, but sometimes you have to go back and look at it again and again to kind of figure out the best way of going about it. So looking at this, I hit the reset, and let's go ahead and look at, I made a default black and white. I'm not going to do anything too crazy here. I'm going to bump that magenta up just a little bit, just to see if I can get a little more ping out of that mountain. But even that, I'm going to be subtle with. And I'm going to lower the cyan a little bit and lower my blue just a little bit. But as soon as I start doing that, I notice the banding comes in. So I'm actually going to do some undos, and I'm going to just back off from all of that right there. Other thing I'm wondering is, what happens if we crank our white balance up, and then let's do quick lens correction on here. There. Let's take this image here, and instead of this one, and let's take this over into Photoshop real quick and see what happens. Edit in Photoshop, render. There we go. Okay, so now we have more magenta going on in here. Now, let's just try what happens. We go black and white. I like it. Getting less fringy. You still got some fringe going on there, that shadowy light. And then let's do, let's go ahead and apply a curve right now. All right, so let's just apply a curve layer there that is going to just start to kind of tweak where we are. I want to make sure also that we've really got a good solid black. Down just a little bit. Okay, there, and I get my info palette, mousing over. Nothing's blown out. I do have a lot of red there, but nothing is crazy blown out there. All right, and then let's do another curve. Let's do some darkening. And that looks pretty good. Nice. All right, I'm gonna do that. And I'm actually not gonna dodge and burn that because I kind of like where those values are right there. So this is kind of my tonal curve right here. And then I have my a bigger curve. So I'm kind of using two curves panels there. We are in a 16-bit TIFF, so we got plenty of pixel data to work with. So now let's just bring this area up here. So I'm going to mask in a little bit and just kind of subtly bring this up just a little bit. All right, so let's brush and paint some black on there. So X to convert, bigger brush, and real low on the opacity, and just kind of feathering in here. I'm gonna go down to like a 10% and just kind of subtly get myself a little detail where I want it to be. And if I don't like it, I can just X to switch my color palette there. So watch what happens, back and forth. And then I can conceal bump my opacity back up, went to 50% this time. So I'm really just super small here, making really subtle changes. And then let's go ahead and make one more curves panel. Oops. And there, and this one's gonna be a highlight bump. So I'm gonna just bring this up. I'm gonna scooch this over a little bit just to give me a little more highlight. And then I'm going to conceal this one. And then it's just a really small brush. And this is where I really wish I had an auto masking feature, because it would be even easier to just mask that in. But let's just get in on the pixel level here. Brush, super small. There we go. And we are just brightening up the white pixels. So with this video, what I want you to, the takeaway really with it, this series of 3, is that I kind of struggled through this. Like, I did these edits in a different piece of software and it worked out really well. Then I took the same image and I was like, oh, I'll just do the same edits over here, no problem. And totally ended up struggling with it, which this is kind of a key component to photography, and digital photography in particular, is that there are times that we just struggle through stuff. And it is about finding the right solution to get something done. And it's not always super easy and relevant. And sometimes you overdo something and you're like, whoa, that's too much. And you got to like back it off. And every piece of software, every image, you know, some things will work really well in one and it won't work well in the other. And you can really botch things if you're not careful. And the key is to finding the right solution for the problem that you have on hand. That is your job as an editor, is finding what is the right solution. You know, this is why Ansel Adams spent years in his darkroom, sometimes perfecting a single image. And then having to go back and make multiple copies of that got to be really, really complicated. I mean, he would have loved to be able to work as simply as I am working right now. This would probably be tickled to be able to do something like this. And I'm gonna bump this hardness up on this brush a little bit. Let's see if that, a little bit. There we go. So, and the thing too to remember with editing is there's no like right or wrong, you know? Well, there can be lots of wrong, but finding the right can sometimes be a really subtle process and a really difficult one. All right, so let's take a look at that. Okay, that is looking a lot better. I've got a really nice highlight here on the mountain, and then I've got my bridge. Now, if I wanted to go back and adjust this, I can a little bit and kind of tweak that in. And kind of get myself where I want that to be. You know, if we bring that down, you can see we're just only affecting those highlights there. And you might decide like, you know, I've got my mountain, but then I still want to tweak the bridge a little bit. So maybe it's a separate layer for the bridge. And you're able to do all of that and massage that into place. So now I'm going to just press save. I think this image looks a lot better than that was our original there. And I'm glad we dealt with this banding issue. That was really starting to drive me nuts. as this saves, we can jump over to Lightroom then, and our image is going to pop up here once our edits are done. Now these files get to be really big. This is a 16-bit TIFF file working on, so I've got a 206 megabyte file, so that's why that stuff's taking a little while to save. And then we bring it over to Lightroom. Here's our image, and then we can go ahead and crop this here in Lightroom and crop it the way we see fit. And of course, the cool thing in Lightroom too is if we had other changes that we wanted to make, we could make those then on top of our Photoshop file. So if I was like, oh, you know what, maybe I want to darken some stuff down a little bit, tweak a few other things, maybe I want to figure out what this is. Looks like some headlights here. You know, I could easily take those out, and I don't have to open up my original image. I could just, you know, do a quick little stamp there, and you know, Lightroom does a great job at doing that kind of stuff. All right, I hope this is kind of helpful. We walked through a bunch of different versions here, and you get to see sort of the process. And yes, it took a while, so thanks for hanging in, guys.